Bom dia. I woke up very early this morning, about 5:30. Got a good night's sleep, and looks like it's very sunny outside. Another beautiful day here in Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. And Kitty Cat says, "Bom dia too." Do you see her? She's just emerging from her hiding place in the closet. Today I'm thinking about something that happened Friday. Today's Sunday. I had an encounter with my past, so to speak. My past here in Salvador, what I sometimes refer to as phase one of my life in Salvador, those early years, 2003 to about 2011. I lead a very, very different life now. But on rare occasions when I'm out walking, I run into a person from that early phase of my life here. And that's what happened on Friday. I was walking, going for my daily long walk, and I bumped into, I'll call him, Daniel. That's not his real name, but that's what we'll call him here. Took me a minute to recognize him. He looks much, much better than he did 12, 15 years ago, believe it or not. 15 years ago, he was a heavy drinker and a heavy drug user. And his face showed it, and he explained to me that he no longer is using or drinking, and that's why he looks a lot younger now. So I was happy to hear that and happy to see that he looks healthier. Anyway, he joined me on my walk, and we sat down at a cafe in my old neighborhood, the notorious Porto de Baja, that neighborhood by the beach that I tend to try to avoid, to avoid running into ghosts of my past, him being one. Not that I was upset or sad that I ran into him. It was nice to see him. You know, he's a troubled soul, but he has a good side. He's an intelligent person. He's a very human person. He has a troubled past. One funny anecdote from those early years, I had a British friend, or she and I are still friends. And one day we were sitting there at a bar, the famous Macau, and she turned to me and said, "Michael, do you realize that all of our friends here are either thieves, prostitutes, or murderers?" Oh my God. And I laughed so hard because it was so true. Not that we had gone out looking for that particular group of people, but that is what manifested in our lives and in our surroundings. And I've never forgot that line. Anyway, this person was one of those people from our past 15, 12 years ago. And we sat down at a cafe, chatted a little bit, got caught up. And then he went into his, what shall I call it? Monologue, spiel, a very old and familiar spiel, not just from him, but from many of the denizens of Salvador that I have known. He starts telling me about this business plan he has to sell prepared foods along the beach. His wife is a cook, a good cook. And he started going into lengthy details about how he was going to package them, how he was going to sell them, the times he was going to sell them. Very long, detailed business plans. And of course, I knew where it was leading to. And then he gets into the idea of me investing in his business. Remembering, of course, me during phase one of my life in Salvador, years ago, starting 23 years ago, when I was flush, when I had money, and I used to help people. I used to help a lot of people. Something I learned was not a good idea, not because it's not a good idea to help people, but one must be discerning. And as a Dutch man, a Dutch friend that I met during that period, he's no longer around, but his name was Henky. Henky once told me, you know what happens here is that there are many people who are desperate here in Salvador. There's a lot of poverty. Many people are desperate and they see you or I as a life raft. And what they will try to do is to climb onto your life raft. And that's fine at the beginning. You can handle 1 or 2 or 3 people climbing onto your life raft. You can throw out a life preserver and help a few people. But over time, you get more and more and more people climbing onto your life raft, and you get overwhelmed. And you find yourself sinking and sinking and sinking until you fall off your life raft and you're struggling and you come to the point where you're overwhelmed and you have to leave. And that is exactly what happened to me. I became overwhelmed. I found that I was drowning, that I was being pulled under, that I didn't know how to handle the situation. I wasn't equipped. And so I left Salvador for 4 years to get a grip, to get a handle on the situation, to decide whether I wanted to come back. And at certain points I thought I never would come back, but here I am, happy, settled, balanced, with my feet on the ground. And I think I pretty much learned how to to deal with that. To be discerning. To protect myself first. To take care of myself first. But when this old friend from my past appeared suddenly, it was a little unsettling because I had to conjure up everything that I've learned to defend myself and to not fall into old habits, old patterns of attempting to rescue somebody. Anyway, he went into a long monologue, which I tried to cut off early when he started asking for help or asking me to be his partner. I knew where the conversation was heading, but if you've ever had a conversation with a Baiano, they know how to talk and to command the attention of all of those listening, and it's virtually impossible to interject or cut them off, so I just let them keep talking, although I had introduced the idea that I was not in a financial position to help. But anyway, I let him finish his long monologue, and then I said, listen, I can't. The person that you knew, me, 15 years ago, doesn't exist anymore. I'm not flush. I live on a small pension. I'm 1 month short of 70 years old. I am neither financially, nor physically, nor mentally, nor emotionally capable of helping you or anybody at this point in my life. And please understand that. As much as I would like to, I can't. Because, he remembers back in the day, if someone had asked for that kind of assistance, what he's asking for was 1,500 reais, the equivalent of $300. Back in the day, I would have, okay, let's go to the ATM, and I take out 1,500 reais, and I give it to him, and, really didn't, with the best wishes for his endeavor, but often not really expecting it to pan out. But now I can't give away or throw away or lend or anything the equivalent of $300. So I finally, after a long conversation and trying to say in many different ways, no, I can't, he finally, I guess, accepted it, at least at that moment. I think the problem is that they see a foreigner. I'm living here. I somehow got here on an airplane. I live in Baja, upscale neighborhood. And I don't think that he or others sometimes really believe me when I say that I have a limited income, talk about my financial situation. I don't think it's real to them. That proverbial fantasy that in the United States or in Europe or other places, money grows on trees. It doesn't, of course, we know that, but they don't always understand that. So I went home, and later in the evening I got messages from him, again asking, again the same. I said the same things to him. I really, really, really can't. Oh, and it happened to be his birthday that day too. Friday the 13th, coincidentally. Of course, you often hear that from people, today's my birthday, but he showed me his official ID. September, Friday the 13th, really, really is his birthday. So I in a moment of softness, I sent him a Pix, is what they use here to transfer money, a Pix for 50 reais, which is equivalent of $10, as a birthday gift, as a consolation prize, and he was thankful for that. But that's it. There's no going back. There's no giving in. There's no finding a way. There's no dipping into the meager amount of money I've been able to save this month. Not even $300 out of my Social Security income. I mentioned in another video that I am starting my savings again, to build up my savings, but it's going to be slow and steady, with emphasis on slow. My savings for my emergencies. And I'm just sorry, there's no space, there's no breathing room to rescue people. If I rescue anybody, it's going to be a family member here in Brazil. I do still help family members. I'm still paying off a washing machine. Monthly payments for one of my brother-in-law who lives across the street. We made a tour of his little favela community last week. I give a small of allowance of the equivalent of $20 a month to one of my nieces. I'm able to do very, very small things like that, but outside of the family and for large sums of money, those days are long gone. As I said, I'm 70. Can't do it. What that conversation, that encounter with him brought up, though, were many, many old memories, old feelings, old traumas about my past here in Salvador. Some of them difficult memories, some things that I don't want to really, well, I can't forget, but I don't want to dredge them up. Some mistakes I made that I forgive myself for. They were made out of ignorance, some out of from a lack of maturity, a lack of experience, some from my own traumas, trying to fix other people when I really should have been concentrating on fixing myself. So I understand and forgive myself for those mistakes. But what I would not, or I would have a very hard time forgiving at this point, is not having learned from my mistakes. And so I'm not stepping back in time. I'm not making those same mistakes again. And it was unpleasant yesterday and last night, remembering some of those dredged up memories from the past. But maybe it was useful in the long run. Some things shouldn't be forgotten. Perhaps some things from the past are necessary to be remembered and dredged up so that you don't make the same mistakes, so that I don't make the same mistakes. And I just wanted to talk about that today in today's episode. Not all of my experiences and memories are rainbows and butterflies here in Salvador. And that's part of life. I mean, I have been living here and visiting here and coming here for a total of, 21, almost 22 years now here in Salvador, and 25 years total in Brazil. So there's bound to be some mistakes and some unpleasant memories in that amount of time, a quarter of a century. But I want to reiterate that I love Brazil, I love Salvador. The vast majority of my memories and my experience have been positive, or I wouldn't be here right now. But I just wanted to talk about that so that I don't forget it and you get a more balanced picture of my past here. So, it looks like a beautiful sunny day. It started out rainy, but it's cleared up. I'm going to go out for my daily long walk. I think it's about 1:30 in the afternoon. I guess you can hear that fan next to me, that fan that runs 24 hours a day except when I'm not at home. Sorry about the noise. Anyway, I'm going out. See you soon. Thanks for joining me today. Beijos. Ciao.